Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven, and I'm here with my very special guest, doctor here, Captain Henry Kroll. And, of course, please bear with us. We do have some technical things going on with the servers because of the snowstorm, but we're doing fine. We are being recorded. And, Henry, we had another question in the chat. I just wanted to ask you real quick. It's, can the Ark of the Covenant interpret gluon plasma event horizons, such as Stephen Hawking's concept of the black hole information paradox?
I don't think that. The Ark of the Covenant is a food receptacle for the gods. They put the Ormus in there, and it has thousands of amps of electricity in it because you're dealing with orbitally rearranged atoms that are shaped like Saturn or small galaxies, small solar systems. Mm-hmm. And the electrons are Cooper paired, and so they creates a time field around them. So they can get if you have to have a certain frequency when you get near the thing. If you ate the material, you didn't die if you touched the Ark, but someone that didn't have it in their system might get electrocuted, and there's accounts of that in the literature. So anyway, it was once you eat this stuff, you don't need to know the Ten Commandments. You know them automatically. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to carry stone tablets around in that box. And they might have carried the staff of Ra in there, which Moses probably used to split the rock open. It's like a dowsing rod to get water. Mm-hmm. But, that's from what I understand is they put this in the priest's bread, which is an unleavened, coarse grain bread. And it goes to the stomach easier because of its stomach hydrochloric acid doesn't dissolve it doesn't metabolize it. So it's absorbed better in the lower intestine. And that's what you have to do if you're going to take this stuff. They recommend, fasting for a week or 20 days to get the full benefit from it. The ancient peoples had a special bread that they could put it in there, and it would absorb better in the lower intestine and get it through the hydrochloric acid. You can eat any amount you want. It just combines with the hydrochloric and makes a gold chloride, and then passes through you, and you don't absorb it. But the technology is out there nowadays. We understand how it works, but they probably had some understanding in biblical times or pre-biblical times because they knew how to use this, and they made it using this alkaline spring water. Those areas in the desert out there, the water is so alkaline you can barely drink it. They would boil the soil for 5 days, and after 5 days you have to keep adding water during the process. It becomes a deadly poison because it's high in alkalinity. It's like lye. Mm-hmm. So they'd add acid to that, and then the atoms become visible. They could pour this clear solution out and add vinegar to that or wine or something to lower the pH. Then the atoms become visible, and it looks like a milk. And they could drink that. And it looked like my colloidal silver, maybe. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm making colloidal silver, and I'm just using 3 9-volt batteries. They're in a little box, and I have pure silver wires. You've got to make sure they're pure. And they're about 5-6 inches long pieces of wire. Very inexpensive, and they last practically forever.
Nice.
And you just put them in a glass of water, hook them over the edge about 2 inches apart, and connect up the batteries in about 15 minutes that you can drink the stuff. I think that's a myth. You have to really take a lot of it before you turn blue. Mm-hmm. Then you can join the Blue Man group,
Right.
Anyway.
Interesting. And there's one more question here from old Fritz. How does he feel about a distilled water regimen?
Well, a lot of distilling doesn't really take any of the stuff out of the water. There's still toxins that evaporate. There's volatiles in distilled water that I know of, that I'm aware of now. When you boil something, you've got like alcohol and aldehydes and other toxins that turn into vapor and then condense along with the water again. So it's really not distilled entirely. It's not pure. Mm-hmm. You have to distill it about 20 to 50 times before you come out with real distilled water. You can buy distilled water in the supermarkets and stuff, but it probably has whatever chemicals were dumped into the water system in it yet that has the Ormus in it. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
That's it.
If we can use it to increase intelligence, because it conducts magnetic frequency pulses that are faster than light speed. They've actually analyzed tennis players, table tennis, they can't figure out how nerve impulses can react fast enough to hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something else going on there, that they don't understand. The science doesn't figure out how, you can play ping pong and be able to hit it. So also, they haven't figured out how a chicken can make an egg out of chicken feed. There's not enough calcium in a lot of the stuff they eat, yet they can make eggs, and they don't know what's going on. And what is happening is that the mitochondria within the body of the chicken are making the calcium from other types of loosely knit together atoms that have double the number of protons, so weak atomic forces.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they can't understand a lot of things about communication between schools of fish and flocks of birds. There's something going on there that they can't explain. Rupert Sheldrake wrote books on it, How Your Dog Knows When Its Master Is Coming Home. And there's all kinds of material on there.
Mm-hmm.
It calls it morphogenic something. I can't remember now. It's been so long, many years since I read any of Rupert Sheldrake stuff, but morphogenetic fields is what he calls it, morphogenetic fields. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, there's things that are grown in the sea, like crab shells, for example. Where can a crab get all that calcium out of seawater to make a crab shell? Yet they got to do it almost every year. In order to grow, they have to shed their shell. It gets soft, and they back out of the old one, and then they make a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I fished king crab for 25 years. I learned a lot about crab and studied them and read up on it over the years. They go in shallow water to escape predators about 2 or 3 fathoms. And if the water is polluted in there for oil or some other stuff, foreign bacteria or algae, they don't do too well. But anyway, they got to shed their shell. Mm-hmm. Then they make a new one, and they're in kind of very fragile state at that time, and predators can eat them because they're like jello, and they're all exposed. Halibut will go in there and they'll feed on these giant king crab to sort of suck them on down like jello. Mm-hmm. So you can catch halibut in the shallow water at certain times of the year when the crab are molting.
Wow.
And same thing with all the shrimp in Dungeness. They have to shed their shells in order to grow. And we used to catch skip molts sometimes in 80, 90 fathoms of water. There's a couple holes at Lower Cook Inlet. We'd put pots down there, and we get these giant old crab that didn't molt their shells, and they're covered with an inch-thick layer of barnacles. The processing plants would really get mad at if you brought in a big load of skip molts, mm-hmm. because you're being paid for that weight of whatever, 50 cents or $1 a pound. And most of it's barnacles. There's very little meat in them.
Right.
There's a lot of waste after they take the shell off. There's all those barnacles on there.
That's really
where we're getting off track here.
That's okay.
Anyway.
It's kind of interesting, though. I like hearing these real stories about just simple things sometimes about fishing and such, and you have such expertise in that area, so it's refreshing. So it's nice to digress a little bit.
We may get on the Discovery Channel. That remains to be seen. They're still considering it. I sent them a ton of photos. And,
nice. I hope you do.
Sent them pictures of my son, Bill, who was in the Army for 8 years, and then had a security for 6 more years over there in Iraq. And he's got a little PSD problem.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. They interviewed him, though, from what I understood, and then they interviewed my other son, Henry, the third, to see over the phone, I believe, and Skype. Then they sent me a little camera to talk into here, and I mailed it back to the guy in Texas and Hollywood. So we'll see what happens there.
That'd be kind of neat watching you guys on the Discovery Channel. That'd be awesome.
I'm on YouTube a little bit. There's one called The Perfect Set, and you might find it by typing in Henry Kroll into YouTube and looking things over. It's spelled K-R-O, doing tutorials on it. So he writes software and then gives it away, unlike Bill Gates. He could be a multi-millionaire, but he gives it all away. I don't know why. But
that's
not
nice
very good business.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if you give it all away, yeah, that's too bad. Well, maybe he'll reverse it on some level. There's another question here in the chat about, let's see, Old Fritz asking, would this gold be great for a baby in the womb and breast milk?
It's not gold as a metal itself. You got to understand, it's in the water you drink. It's everywhere. It's in the air you breathe. It's just we do not get enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're conceived, the cell division rate is based on base pairs per turn. I believe we covered that. When you're conceived, you got 50 base pairs per turn. When you're born, you got about 25 base pairs per turn. At age 20, you're already down to 20 base pairs per turn. And at age 50, you have 5. So at age 50, your cell reproduction rate slows way down. You start losing more body cells. You start aging quicker. Now, the only way to reverse that process is to speed it up. Now, I wouldn't recommend feeding an infant this material in the womb or anything because, of course, he's got the wound up DNA is perfect already, and you wouldn't want to interfere with anything there. But after age 25 or something, or age 50, you might definitely want to consider using these mineral supplements.
Mm-hmm.
But regular mineral supplements will not hurt the child if the lady is taking prenatal vitamins or something like that. That's excellent, But I'm not a doctor. I want to throw in a disclaimer here. Don't believe everything I say here. I'm just a commercial fisherman that's lived a hard life, and I've got a little bit of life experience. And I've say things the way I see them. It's my opinion, and may not be fact, but has radiation contamination in it, and they think it's from Fukushima drifting across through the jet stream and gets down in the grass, and the cows eat the grass and concentrates it into the cow's milk itself, So just check it out on the internet. Just type in, radiation, Fukushima, cow's milk, etc., and you can make up your own mind. I don't have the resources to test everything around.
Oh, the internet is a good resource. There's no doubt about that. It's like a big dictionary. You can go hunt.
And they won't give us the truth, and we don't know what we're going to be doing with the seafood. We might be out of business in a year or two as far as commercial fishing goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I'm recently an ordained minister of the Universal Life Church.
Nice.
And we hope to build a structure here for higher learning, and we're working on that project.
That's wonderful.
And maybe some electric airplanes along the line too.
Wow. So are you going to have a school, Henry? I mean, is it going to be a school or what?
Well, I have a nonprofit corporation called Workforce Training School, and you can look that up. Just type in Workforce Training School, Department of Corporations, in state of Alaska. It's Alaska State Corporation. You can see my board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
It owns the land that I'm living on here, and I'm taking care of it and building on it. So, it's a nonprofit. So, it's just had it for a long time. I changed forges and an anvil and other equipment that could be used to teach blacksmithing.
Oh, excellent.
And I have a big metal lathe across the inlet. I could bring that over once I get set up here, but we'll see what happens,
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
So we'll maybe on there.
Oh no.
That'd be exciting. Yeah, she was driving this skiff. It's a big skiff I built, and 40-horse motor on it. She saw what she thought was a big log in the net next to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
She ran up on this log real fast, and my son-in-law Abel was in the bow of the skiff, and he got really close, and the big brown bear stood up on its hind legs, and by the time the skiff slowed down, he said he could have punched it in the nose.
Oh, wow.
So stuff like that goes on all the time over there, it seems like.
Well, that's funny. Well, it's not funny, but yeah. So are the bears pretty aggressive, or they learn to just coexist?
Well, no, we just sort of coexist with them, So Abel, he heard a noise under our house. We have a 2-story house where he can drive 6-wheelers, 4-wheelers underneath it. I built this place. It's 90 feet long, 2 stories, and it's got opening. You can store firewood under there and plywood and lumber, wheelbarrows, you name it. I have a workbench down there full of chainsaws. Anyway, Abel heard a noise. He went down there, and he thought it was a marten or a porcupine, and he didn't bring a gun with him, of course, and he got down there. It's kind of dark. There's little small windows. And he looked over, and there's a black bear about, 12 feet away on the other side of the wheelbarrow.
Mm-hmm.
And he hollers upstairs to my daughter, "Get the gun!" And she gets the gun. And, well, meanwhile, the bear runs out of there and bumps into him on the way out. And he gets a 30-06 gun and shoots the bear. And meanwhile, my dog, Flippy, the black lab, she tries to bite the bear, and the bear grabs her around the neck. And it's picked her up and it's shaking her. So she weighs about 60 pounds at the time, pretty heavy black lab,
Mm-hmm.
Had a nylon collar on, and that saved her life. And he's just flipping her around, and she's whining and crying, and he shoots the bear, and it falls down on top of the dog. And he's trying to pull the dog out of the bear's mouth. It won't come, so he hollers at my wife, "Get the crowbar." And my wife's mouth falls open. "Crowbar?" So anyway, she goes back to look for a crowbar, and comes back later. By that time, he shoots the bear again and gets the dog out of the bear's mouth. And Mary, my wife, loosened the dog's collar because she's afraid it was going to swell up and choke the dog, a little bit there. She did have a sore neck, old Flippy did there. So anyway, my daughter and Abel and grandkids are going for a walk a few hours later. They come down the stairs, and the dog saw the gun on his Abel's shoulder, and Flippy just pointed at it like a pointer. And she slowly turned around and went upstairs. He didn't want to go for a walk with him when they had the gun, because it went off, like for 4 feet from her head. So he was afraid of the noise. And then she started to shake off and got one shake and decided her neck was too sore. The predator.
Well, maybe they're just getting smarter about knowing when they're being hunted, huh?
No, really, I have bad hunting radar. I had a giant wolf dog a few years ago. He came from Montana. He was, black wolf. He had a few white spots on him. And a guy showed up from Anchorage and left him with me. And he was a nice dog. His head was huge. He was a big dog. Anyway.
Well, that's interesting. Hey, has there been any Sasquatch up there? Any Bigfoot type scenarios?
I've never come across any myself. We have a bear over there we call Jurassic Park bear, and I got size 13 shoes. I could put both of my feet in his hind track. This guy is huge. But
wow.
I haven't seen him around lately. He might have died of old age.
Mhm. That is a big one.
He usually hangs out by the airport over there, but.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wolf dog, he does, he finally got cut out in the open. The only tree nearby was only about 4 inches diameter. It wasn't big enough, which is a couple hundred feet away by that time. So, Meanwhile, I get back to the sand spit there, and my Wolfie there, he's just pretending, I didn't do nothing,
That's funny.
But my karma improved that fall because I got a nice bull moose, and it was really good meat. It fell down and all the blood drained out of its neck into a depression, so it was really clean. And I have a bandsaw, a little meat saw and everything, stainless steel. we process the whole thing. It's a couple days work, you know. You got to hang them up and quarter them and drag them around, and they're heavy. You know, but some of the hindquarters can weigh up to 200 pounds.
Wow.
Depending on the size of the moose.
Do you freeze the meat then?
Yeah, we had 2 freezers going over there, and we canned a bunch of it in cans. We have metal cans and jars. And I even tried corning some of it. That didn't work out too good, but anyway, we salted it.
That seems like a lot of work for sure. Yeah, but it's good. I mean, insofar as survival goes, it looks like you're all set on that level.
Well, we smoke quite a bit of salmon during the summer, too. We've got a smokehouse, and we soak it in brine for 6 to 8 hours and hang it up in the smokehouse, you know, and let it dry in there.
Oh, wow.
And then build birch fires. We use birch to smoke with. We don't have, the cottonwood's the best, but we don't have any dry cottonwood in the area. Makes a really good taste.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So, you know, we live the Alaskan lifestyle. We're the real Alaskans. So, you know, I was born in Seldovia, Alaska, so that makes me a native. So it wouldn't be fake if we actually got on the Discovery Channel.
No, not at all.
The real stuff, you know.
Right, and plus you said you live off the grid, so I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I spend most of the summers on the boat, towing people around to get in trouble and hauling about anywhere from 100 to 200,000 pounds of salmon and tons of ice and freight and dog food and lumber and everything else for my set netters up the line there toward Point Harriet. And also down at Snug Harbor, occasionally I go down there and pick up fish from the drift boats. And have they migrate around. The run starts in the lower inlet, so they fish out of Snug Harbor up until the 4th of July, and they like to go down there and drink beer and party, you know, on the beach. It's a picturesque place. It's very beautiful. There's waterfalls on both sides of the channel, and less vegetation and bird rookeries, thousands of birds on the lower part of the ocean side of the island there. We've got Duck Island on the other side, too. I wrote a list of various points of interest for the Discovery Channel, and each one of them takes a half a day to a day just to go look at and explore, you see. You've got Fossil Point, where they can look at ammonites and marine clams, big, giant, ancient clams, you know. Some of the ammonites are almost 2 foot in diameter in the lower rock there.
Wow.
The big snail-like creatures. And it was very tropical when they lived, but they're about 140 million year old. They don't go back that far, but these are 140 million year old marine fossils. That whole area was pushed up by the volcanoes came up. There's 2 large 10,000 foot volcanoes, and we live between them. One is Iliana volcano, and the other is Redoubt. And Redoubt erupts periodically, and about 10 years ago, they dumped a 1/4 inch of ash or more on our place, and we were living there at the time. It was kind of scary. I had gas masks hanging on the wall ready to put on in case something really bad happened. And they did create a mud flow, but it went to the north and went down to Drift River, and there was an oil storage facility there. They had a whole bunch of huge oil storage tanks and chain link fence around it, and there's a dock where they bring in tankers, fill them with oil. And the mud came right up to the tanks and flowed over.
People even breathe in that atmosphere. It must be really rough.
Well, it doesn't seem to bother them too much, you know, but it will choke off a jet engine. And, you know, when the Icelandic volcanoes went off, they had to shut down the trip to Europe. With jets flying over to Europe for a while there. President Obama wanted to go over to England or someplace, and they wouldn't allow him to do that.
Not even Air Force One, huh?
Yeah, no, they can't fly through that. It was 60,000 foot altitude. They had glass up that high at that time. That's what caused the Maunder minimum, the actual ice age, the mini ice age in Europe. 500,000 people died back in the early 1700s during that time because they couldn't grow food. It put so much, and it was Icelandic volcanoes, we think, that caused it. there was so much ash put up in the atmosphere, it lowered global temperatures several degrees, and there was no sunlight to grow anything, so people were starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
It was, that could happen here. We had Mount Katmai blow up down here. It lowered global temperatures about 3 degrees, and that was in 1910 or 11. In 1912, it dumped 6 foot of ash on Kodiak Island, and of course the rains and flowed down into the valleys. It was much thicker than 4 feet or 6 feet. It was more like 20 foot deposits here and there. Mm-hmm. It dumped a foot or so of ash on acreage. The last over a foot, I believe, was like 16 inches.
Yeah.
But there weren't that many people living in acreage at the time. It's in cans, and some of it's in foil pouches and stuff. It's supposed to last 25 years.
Well, that's good.
I don't know, if it will or not. Some of it's in 5-gallon buckets. Kind of expensive, too,
Mm-hmm.
There's different brand names out there. I noticed in Walmart has some, and also in Costco and Sam's Club, they sell various types of it. You can buy a full year's supply for like $3,000.
Wow.
For 2 people. I think it's for 2 people for 3 years or a year. And then they've got other, I was just looking at it a couple days ago on the internet. Thinking about opening a store here, maybe just have survival food in it,
That's a great idea.
But have stocks of it on hand. But there's a couple of stores here in town already have it. There's, one called Saviormore here has quite a bit of it, I noticed.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a need for it, that's for sure. So do you test your well water?
I haven't yet. But I believe it's fine. It comes out of glacier moraine. It's 100 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's 95 or 100 feet deep, and I have a 3-horse pump on there, but I can only run it when I run a generator.
Mm-hmm.
So it puts out a tremendous amount of water in a short time with 3 horsepower. But it's pretty good water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you'd be sick by now. But I was just curious if you have to test it or.
Yeah, you have to run a well because they put down a steel pipe well casing and it rusts. So the first bunch of water you get out of there has a lot of rust in it. It's all orange.
Mm-hmm.
So you let it run for 15 minutes or so before you can use it.
Great. Yeah, that's interesting. How long did it take for you to dig for that well?
I had a guy come in and do it. And it was $5,500 or something like that. And he had a big well drilling truck. And it leaked a lot of oil on the ground, too. I had to shovel up a lot of that and get rid of that. But it's an older well driller rig,
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways of drilling your own well up to 200 feet deep. I noticed one in a farm magazine here where they're using air tools. It's like a small grinder, and they make a head for the grinder itself, and they use plastic pipe, and they just have an air compressor, and they shove it down there, and, the air tool isn't very expensive. It's about $40, $50 to replace it. So if it quits working, you go to Home Depot and buy another one and hook it up,
Right.
It's a pretty neat deal. You could drill your own well pretty reasonably priced for that.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't cost you $5,000, but you still got to have a pump and the well casing.
Right. Did you have to douse for the location of the water, or how did you find the water?
Well, I didn't here. I just know there's water at that depth because there's other wells in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But I have doused for them. It's not too hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Water across the inlet, but I knew there was water there anyway before I did. But I wanted a well close to the house, but it was a little deeper at that location. But, there was a place there to build a well pump house. And the other location, there wasn't suitable to build a house there because it's too steep. I mean,
Yeah, I'm glad you have a well. I like well water too. That's what I have. So, yeah, I can't imagine like city water. I'm kind of spoiled now. So.
You have the lead warnings out on Kenai water all the time, and that other poison that's so bad for you, arsenic. There we go.
Right.
There's arsenic in the Kenai water.
But doesn't it have a sweet taste to it, the water, when it has a lot of arsenic?
I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't have much of a taste. They put a lot of dope in it, chlorine.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really tell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it's kind of it, though.
The water across the inlet's volcanic soil and sand. It's just a fine sand. It came out of Redoubt volcano. The whole area, the whole flat that we live on, it came out of that volcano at one time or another. You can look, and there's subsequent mud flows, and there's forest underneath them, and they're charred wood down underneath where the waves will wash the banks away.
Mm-hmm.
You can look down about 15 feet, and there's another layer of wood forest, and the trees are all burnt and everything. They're covered up with boiling hot mud.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like Pompeii there, when that went off. It was probably 500 years ago when that happened, 450 years. There's been several mud flows that made the whole flat area where we live, and it blocked off this river, Crescent River, and it's had to make new channels every time that happens. So you got these cirques that are in the middle of nowhere in the woods. You got a big hollow curved area that has swamp in it. No trees growing in it, but, it used to be part of an old river channel. Mm-hmm. Mud kind of sealed it off, and had to find a new way out there, and it created huge flats that go out almost about a mile to do. They don't know where to go once you got an airplane. They keep it at the airport, and I got a plane, but they have no really use for it except for recreational purposes.
Wow.
But when I have one, I use it to travel back and forth to where we live and haul freight and groceries and things with it. But we actually could use one.
Right. Do you still have a plane, or did you sell it?
No, I used the money to drill this well.
Oh, okay, so you need a new plane.
It was too old to fly it anyway. It was all run out and out of annual and everything. So I sold it. It was a J3 Cub, and I sold it for $12,500, and used some of the money to put the well in here.
Well, that makes sense. Well, it was a good investment, nonetheless. That's for sure. So do you gold mine?
Yeah,
Are you doing any? I think didn't you used to have a gold mine, or you went hunting or gold mine, didn't you, or something like that?
Well, I'm building a road from our fish site, and it's about halfway there to the mine where you can actually dredge for gold. Mm-hmm. There's gold in the creek itself, and it's on a north-south trend with other productive mines south of there. This creek, and there's a large ghost sand. It's a large area of rock that was exposed by glaciers, and where water percolated for a long time, million years or so, and left iron and platinum deposits and gold in the rock. You know what I mean? It's all gold deposits are deposited one molecule at a time, almost. By hot water flowing through rock and quartz. It makes quartz vein, which is pure silica, the white quartz. Mm-hmm. And all gold is just deposited by hot water. And also silver and some of the other minerals, some platinums. So, some of it's volcanic deposition, but most of it's just hot water,
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of springs that have gold in them, and they can filter it out with activated charcoal down in, Arizona and Nevada areas. And they have springs that come out of the ground, they put in filters, and then everything's just really hot. Mm-hmm. And I've been melting certain computer components with it, get some of the gold out that way. But other than that, I haven't been doing much in the mining business.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice little hobby. I mean, if you have some downtime and you want to make some extra money, I guess, in the illusion of, right? It'd be kind of interesting, for sure.
I know a place in Arizona I can go to get some nuggets, but next winter I think I'll go out there.
Yeah, take a nice trip and do something, that's for sure. It's interesting. We're almost ready to wrap this up in about 15 minutes, plus or minus, but I want to remind everybody how to purchase all of your books. And they can do that through your websites mainly, right?
Guard Dog Books is the website.
Okay.
Or you can just type Henry Kroll into Google, or Hank Kroll or something like that into Google, and find the website that way. conditions, and you can see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you can get the book by dialing 1-877-BUY-BOOK, and it goes into Infinity Publishing.
Nice. Yeah, that's an awesome one. Now, you also wrote, we never touched on this. I know we always run out of time, but you did write The Frog is Cooked, and this was a while back. So that one's still available, right?
Oh, yeah, they're all available on my website there. You just click on the orbit period around it and matches the Ice Age cycle.
Mm-hmm. Right. You have some incredible books out, Henry. They really are very informative. I hope people read them.
Well, I just didn't do it all myself on that one. I had a science team consisting of 2 astronomers, a physicist, and a genius in Seattle.
Excellent.
Brad Goose is his name, and he passed away a year and a half ago. And so I also got a letter from Jean Lenars in France, too. He's a chemist. And he knows other writers that work on the Ark of the Covenant and the Philosopher's Stone. And William Henry sent me pictures of him and William Henry walking around looking at these old churches and studying them.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, I'd like to do some traveling around there. That was the cosmological ice ages, right?
Yes. Yeah, he encouraged me to continue writing it. You know, it was nice of him. I wanted to go see him, but he's pretty old. You know, he might be not even living anymore. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, everybody's getting up there in the illusion, right? But yeah, you have the alchemy. You know, you have that Philosopher's Stone, so people pay attention to that and the ingredients behind it. It could prolong their life.
Well, my whole thing on this, you know, if we knew where carbon energy came from on this planet, maybe we could make rational decisions whether we should be burning it or not. You know, I think we need to release more CO2 into the atmosphere, not the other way around, because we use it to grow food. And it doesn't really modify the climate that I know of anyway. It's a trace gas amounting to 0.033% of our atmosphere, if anybody bothers to look it up. And if we could double it, it would still be a trace gas at 0.066%, wouldn't it? You know, it's not even 1%. It's like a third of, 10th of a percent of our atmosphere. And nitrogen, 78%, oxygen over 20, they say. And we're burning up all this carbon and combining it with oxygen, but we're not replenishing the oxygen fast enough. So I think we're depleting the oxygen. That's more of a danger than releasing CO2 because we lost plankton in the oceans mostly and cut down most of the rainforest, 2/3 of it.
Yeah, that's not good. You know, it's interesting because it does feel like we have less oxygen. To me, it does anyway.
Well, during Moses' time, it could have been as much as 30%, you know. But anyway, it's supposedly 20.8, but I think it's more like 20 now. Since the Industrial Revolution, it's brought it down a ways. And, you know, it killed off a lot of the plankton in the oceans, too. That releases the most oxygen because the oceans cover era and, you know, ancient times when we had more light coming in. And also when we're closer to our light source that we're in orbit around.
Right.
And the light source, the little object is, you know, I don't want to tell everybody what it is. Maybe I should.
I think you might have
Sirius A and B, you know. Yeah. Sirius A and it puts out 4 times the light of our sun, and Sirius B puts out 100 times the light of our sun in the ultraviolet light spectrum that plants can utilize it, especially in the oceans if it can penetrate any depths at all. And you see, oceans don't receive UV light very well. It takes a very powerful UV light to get down in any kind of depth. But diatoms in the ocean and other plants that make limestone, like coccolithophores and Fortifera, can use this ultraviolet light, make free oxygen and calcium carbonate, which is can be turned into oil later. It was volcanism by adding the hydrogen in the water to the carbon, make hydrocarbons. It's done at extreme heat and great depths within the Earth. But all of that carbon deposition actually came from incoming light, and it didn't come from the sun because the atmosphere was too thick to even see the atmosphere, and there's no way you'd see the sun. It took something more powerful than Sirius B to break through it even, you know. Sirius B might actually put out 1,000 times more light than our sun. When it's close to Sirius A, it could feed off of it. It orbits right now, they say, at 8 to 12 AU, 1 AU being 1 Earth distance. And it's 1.5 solar masses, this little thing the size of Earth. So it could possibly feed off of Sirius A, which is 2 solar masses. Altogether, it's 3.5 solar masses, 6.8 E30. And our sun is 2 E30. So, it's 3.5 solar masses. So that thing puts out tremendous light, and we're in orbit around it. We're heading toward it. It's 7.5 kilometers per second. It's 8 light years away. And the mass of the galaxy is behind it, so you have to multiply the mass difference times 4 to figure the actual gravity. It works out to 14 times the gravity of our sun, 3.5 times 4, so. And you kick in from the UV light, ultraviolet light. It does tend to speed up evolution by modifying DNA. So humans might have to go underground to maintain their present form at the closest point. I don't know. You'd have to. We got such a thin atmosphere right now. It's only 50 miles deep.
Yeah.
Whereas in ancient times it was much thicker, and it was taken down, and by all the carbon was removed by photosynthesis and laid down as coal, oil, and limestone. So basically, my logic says if you took all the coal on Earth right now, and limestone and oil, and you turned it all back into carbon dioxide, we have an atmosphere of over 200 pounds per square inch with the Earth at its present diameter. Because it would be, it'd be really thick atmosphere. You could strap wings on and almost fly through the stuff.
Really?
And it'd be 200 pounds or 250 pounds per square inch during the beginning of the Carboniferous era, and it took photosynthesis to take that down, and the sun could never do that because it didn't burn as hot then, and also, we didn't have the light source. We needed Sirius A and B to do that, to get through such a thick atmosphere, probably 1,800 miles deep. Right now it's 50 miles deep, and we're in danger of being annihilated from exploding stuff and, incoming light if we get close to something that puts out a lot of light.
Yeah, these are interesting times.
Like solar flares, even solar flares could annihilate us. They did in the night. Some of this stuff.
Well, they've weaponized a lot of his information. I know that. That's for sure. His technology in general. It's just kind of sad. But Henry, we're getting ready to wrap this up. It's always a pleasure to have you on. It's just such a nice conversation, and it's just a joy to have you every single time you're here. So I do want to thank you for being. Yes, want you?
Not really. We'll let you know about the Discovery Channel, so keep posted, and thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a blessing. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you on, and like I said, keep me posted. I'd love to see you guys on the Discovery Channel. I think it'd be awesome to watch you.
Who knows? Maybe we'll become TV stars.
That'd be funny. Well, you never know. How long ago did you submit the information? How long does it take for a response?
Oh, we were out there in December, first part of December, so we left Cairns and drove over here. And a lot of fun, We catch a lot of big king salmon and halibut sometimes out there, and there'll be a lot of blood and action and fish flying through the air.
Oh, the poor fish. I'll tell you, I always get hungry for salmon after I have a conversation with you, though. But if it's radioactive, I don't want it, right?
Who knows? We don't know. The government won't tell us.
Right. Well,
they don't want to shut down the industry,
I'm going to say people will glow eventually. I guess we'll figure it out, right, when people start getting sick.
Well, if we all start
something like that, but I wasn't certain insofar as what they were up to. Have you noticed any weird weather patterns up there?
No, except that we've had mild winters. The last 2 winters have been really nice here. It's 34 degrees right now. It's slightly above freezing. It was 22 or 23 degrees during the day, but we got a warm spell coming in off the ocean again. And a lot of that's caused not by, the sun so much. It's undersea volcanoes that warm up the seawater, and we're going through an El Nino again. There's this ring of fire, and there's more than 1 million volcanoes in the Pacific Ocean that are spewing hot water. and we can't control that. A lot of that's energy, you know. One of the things we discovered is the moon puts more energy on the Earth than the sun does. It sounds really crazy. But it's true. The moon imparts gravitational energy to Earth, makes the crust and the tides go up and down, and keeps the magma flowing under the Earth, and it's necessary to keep Earth alive because it keeps volcanoes active also, you know.
Right.
But it puts out 2e20 joules of energy per second. And the amount of sunlight that hits the Earth is only around, averages out. There's nothing at the poles. You might have 1,200 watts in the Sahara Desert at noon on a hot day per square meter, you know, but it's only about, on average, about 250 watts per square meter sunlight hits the Earth.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, it's enough to power all of our industry if we utilize it, you know, especially in the Nevada or Arizona deserts, you know.
Right, harness the energy. And you have your ham radio, right?
Not really. I don't have a ham radio. I have an FM radio that I'm putting together as a kit. I've got some marine radios that I may hook up someday.
Nice. Okay.
My engineer lives down the street. He has a radio station down here. He's an electrical engineer. I go bug him every few days.
Nice. Well, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, we converse back and forth. Various things.
Are you going to be writing any more books?
I'm getting one published on my father. Alaska's Mad Trapper. It's available in a print form that I run off right now on my website, but I've added a couple of chapters to it.
Excellent. Well, Henry, we're going to have to talk to you more.
Okay.
Great, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Henry. It's been wonderful. Captain Henry Kroll. And have a great week, everybody. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in.